I then went and got some fans to try and cool the room down, and that one moment in my life which perhaps my professionalism was lacking.
As I turned around, the eyelashes and the hair of the princess were moving. Princess Diana's driver has finally broken his silence, and what he revealed has left the world stunned. For years, he stayed quiet about that tragic night in 1997, but now he's ready to share what really happened. Colin Tbit wasn't just a driver, he was someone Diana trusted deeply. So why did he wait all this time to tell the truth? Let's uncover the hidden things he's finally ready to reveal that are sending shock waves inside the royal family. The night that changed everything, what startling details did Colin share, and what made him wait so many years after her tragic passing to discuss the crash on live television? Sit back because you're in for some truly astonishing information. It has been almost 30 years since Princess Diana's untimely death in a car accident in Paris, a moment that deeply affected those close to her, including her trusted driver Colin Tbit. Colin recently made an appearance on a television talk show hosted by Kate and Ben, where he struggled to control his emotions while speaking about the distressing aftermath of Princess Diana's accident. It was clear to the host that Colin had been tormented by feelings of guilt and a sense of responsibility for decades, especially because he was not the one driving that night. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that what Colin shared is far more heartbreaking than anyone could have predicted. And this isn't the only revelation that will leave you stunned. Colin began by recounting how he first learned of the terrible news. He was in bed next to his wife when their phone suddenly rang. His wife answered, initially engaging in a seemingly normal conversation. However, the tone quickly turned grave. Without a word, she handed the phone to Colin, urging him to sit up and pay attention. Before we delve deeper into that conversation, it's apparent that Colin has been burdened with profound sorrow for years, making one question the true nature of the events that led to Princess Diana's demise. Princess Diana was tragically eliminated on August 31, 1997, in a devastating collision inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris. The crash happened as her driver attempted to evade aggressive photographers. Diana was not alone. Her companion, Dodi Fayed, and their driver, Henri Paul, who also served as the security manager at the Hotel Ritz Paris, were both eliminated in the accident. However, there was one survivor, Trevor Rees-Jones, a bodyguard hired by Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, who, despite serious head injuries, miraculously survived. Diana's funeral, which took place on September 6, 1997, was an event that captivated the entire world. In the United Kingdom, the televised funeral was watched by 32.1 million viewers, making it one of the most watched events in British TV history. In the United States, viewership reached 50 million, and globally, the broadcast was viewed by an estimated 2.5 billion people across more than 200 countries. On that somber day of August 31, 1997, her coffin, covered with the Royal Standard flag, was transported back to London from Paris. Accompanying the coffin were Charles, her former husband, and her two sisters. Once in London, Diana's coffin was initially placed in a private mortuary and later moved to the Chapel Royal at St. James Palace, marking the start of a period of national mourning. On September 5, Queen Elizabeth II publicly honored Diana with a live speech on television. The next day, on September 6, Diana's grand funeral service was held at Westminster Abbey. Her sons, along with the Prince of Wales, the Duke of Edinburgh, Diana's brother Lord Spencer, and representatives from her charitable organizations, walked in the procession behind her coffin. In his tribute, Lord Spencer noted that Diana had proven in her final year that she didn't need a royal title to make a meaningful impact. Elton John performed Candle in the Wind 1997, a modified version of his song specifically rewritten in memory of Diana. Remarkably, this was the only occasion Elton John performed this version live. The song, released later that year, generated significant contributions to Diana's charities from worldwide sales. Since her death, various theories about the circumstances of Diana's accident have been proposed. Investigations in both Britain and France concluded that her death was as reported by the media, resulting from a car crash in Paris. In 1999, a French judicial inquiry led by Judge Hervé Stephan determined that the photographers were not close enough to the Mercedes S280 at the time of the crash to be held responsible for it. But just when it seemed everything was simple, another surprising detail appeared, making everyone wonder what really happened that night. Diana's final days were uncovered. In 2008, a British inquest found that Diana's death was a result of unlawful elimination caused by the reckless actions of the driver Henri Paul and the photographers chasing them. The jury also noted that not wearing seatbelts and striking a pillar in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel were factors that contributed to the fatalities. Various individuals and groups have disputed the official explanation of Diana's death, including the British newspaper The Daily Express and Mohammed Al-Fayed, who lost his son Dodi in the crash. In 2003, Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, revealed a note he claimed Diana wrote in 1993. In this note, Diana allegedly stated that her husband was planning an accident that would leave her severely injured, allowing him to remarry. Diana reportedly shared similar concerns with her lawyer, Lord Mishkin, in October 1995, claiming that reliable sources had informed her of plans to remove her and Camilla so that Charles could marry Tiggy Ledberg. In 2004, the Metropolitan Police launched Operation Paget, a special investigation unit aimed at exploring the numerous theories surrounding Diana's death. This team, led by Commissioner John Stevens, examined 175 different conspiracy claims made by Mohammed Al-Fayed. During the investigation in 2005, Charles was called as a witness, where he expressed confusion about the note Diana had written in 1995, stating he was confused by her fears at the time. During the investigation, Al-Fayed was adamant, constantly suggesting that there was a dark plot behind the accident. He was convinced that his son Dodi and Princess Diana were intentionally eliminated. Now, let's go back to a phone call that shocked Colin while he was in England. On the line was a colleague from Balmoral who informed Colin that Princess Diana had been injured in a car accident. His colleague advised him to watch the news to see what was going on. Colin turned on the television as suggested and was met with heartbreaking news. The impact of what he saw was profound. He quickly got ready and headed toward Kensington Palace. Driving there, Colin was overwhelmed with emotions, shock, pain, and helplessness, realizing he could do nothing to alter what had occurred. When he arrived at Kensington Palace, he came face to face with the grim reality of the situation. Princess Diana's condition was far worse than he had imagined, and the scene was heartbreakingly sad. As Colin shared his recollections on a talk show, the discussion became deeply emotional. He spoke about how serious Princess Diana's condition was that night and emphasized how much the event had affected him. The feelings of guilt and responsibility he experienced that night have lingered with him for years. The interview turned into a deeply emotional event for Colin as he described how a typical evening turned into a nightmare when he found out about the accident. Colin's inability to prevent the tragedy clearly weighed heavily on him. The show's hosts, Kate and Ben, were sympathetic and understanding, asking gentle questions to help him tell his story. Colin faced the tough task of transporting Princess Diana's body from Paris back to England, which added greatly to his emotional burden. Despite his grief, he had to keep himself together and focused. When Colin arrived in Paris, he encountered chaos. The media frenzy was overwhelming, with reporters and photographers everywhere, all trying to get details about the tragic event. The temperature in the room where Diana lay was unusually high, raising Colin's concerns about maintaining her privacy and dignity. He took proactive steps to cool the room and ensure it was shielded from any curious onlookers. Colin wanted to make sure that, in her death, Diana was treated with the dignity she deserved. He meticulously checked that all procedures were followed correctly to allow her a peaceful rest, undisturbed. Colin was under tremendous pressure during this time. Maintaining a professional demeanor was crucial, yet the emotional toll was palpable. A particularly poignant moment came when he was in the room with Diana, and a fan caused her hair to flutter unexpectedly. This sight deeply shook Colin, forcing him to take a few moments to compose himself before he could continue. Despite the overwhelming sadness and stress, Colin's dedication to his role never faltered. He remained committed to performing his duties with excellence. Just when it felt like there was nothing more, Colin shared even more facts that made everyone think differently about Diana's tragic ending. Diana's driver broke his silence in his recounting of the events. Colin shared some personal memories of Princess Diana. He remembered her for her vibrant sense of humor and the good times they had working together. Her tragic death deeply impacted him, affecting him not just professionally but on a deeply personal level. Diana was a genuinely warm and gracious person, and her loss was felt profoundly by Colin. He reminisced about how much she had meant to him and how her passing fundamentally changed his life. Handling the flood of questions and theories from the public and the press about the crash was another major challenge for Colin. The many theories he encountered were just a fraction of the widespread speculation he had to manage. The public's thirst for the truth was unending, as were the countless theories and stories circulated, some suggesting hidden aspects of the crash. Colin chose to share his own experiences to shed some light on the situation. He spoke about driving through the tunnel where the accident happened, describing how confusing and disorienting it could be, especially at night. The tunnel was dark, and the city lights only added to the difficulty in seeing clearly. Colin pointed out that even the most careful drivers could find the tunnel's layout disorienting, with its numerous curves and the enclosing tunnel walls making it easy to lose one's bearings. He emphasized the challenges of driving in that tunnel, noting how the glare from car lights and the tunnel walls could obscure a driver's view, making navigation tricky. For someone driving quickly, these conditions could be particularly hazardous. Colin shared these details to help people understand that the crash might have simply been the result of difficult driving conditions rather than any nefarious or hidden causes. Indeed, Colin remembered his own initial confusion when he first navigated the tunnel. He wanted the public to grasp how easy it was to become disoriented amidst the tunnel's twists and the interplay of light and shadows. He stressed that even a brief moment of confusion could lead to a severe accident. By sharing his personal experience, Colin aimed to clarify the speculation around the crash, suggesting that it might have been an unfortunate mishap caused by challenging driving conditions. Colin hoped that his insights would help people view the situation with a clearer perspective. He aimed to convey that accidents sometimes occur simply due to environmental factors, not because of complex plots or hidden reasons. While he understood the public's desire for answers, Colin felt it was important to share his perspective, stressing that tragedies can sometimes happen due to plain unfortunate circumstances. Lastly, Colin turned his attention to the tireless efforts of the medical team in Paris, particularly spotlighting Dr. Monsarman and his team, who performed urgent medical procedures using the latest technology available. They acted swiftly and with great precision, trying desperately to save Diana. Dr. Damon was fully aware of how critical Diana's condition was, which fueled their urgency. They knew every second was precious in their race to save her. Despite their best efforts, the world still faced the tragic loss of Diana. Following her death, the medical team was overwhelmed with inquiries as people wondered if anything more could have been done to prevent her demise. Dr. Damon and his team experienced a great deal of pressure following the tragic night of Princess Diana's death. Despite their exhaustive efforts, some people still pointed fingers at them, blaming them for her passing. This was incredibly hard for them, as they had done everything within their power to save her. Like Colin, Dr. Damon found the memories of that night hard to shake off. As time moved on, he and his team carried the lessons they learned into their future work, constantly reminding themselves of the dedication and care they provided that night trying to save Princess Diana. Following Princess Diana's burial, even more outlandish theories began to circulate. Among the more jarring speculations was that Princess Diana had been eliminated because she was reportedly pregnant with Mohammed Al Fayed's child and that they were planning to announce their engagement. Some theorists suggested that the British royal family, who follow Christianity, could not come to terms with Diana, who would be the mother to the future king, being romantically involved with an Egyptian Muslim. They argued that the royal family would not accept this relationship, hinting at a deeply unsettling reason for her untimely death. Windsor snub shocks the royals. In July 2024, Windsor Castle became the unlikely backdrop for a royal drama that left many people talking. Princess Anne, often described as a straightforward member of the royal family, reportedly blocked Tom Parker Bowles, Queen Camilla's son, from entering a prestigious charity event. This was not just a minor misstep or an isolated incident. The scene that played out at the gates of Windsor Castle raised questions and quickly became a talking point not only within the royal family but also in the wider public. Picture the moment, the elegant surroundings of Windsor Castle, guests dressed in their finest attire. In the middle of this majestic display, something totally unexpected transpired. Tom Parker Bowles, who had been preparing to attend the event alongside other prominent figures, found himself unexpectedly stopped at the entrance. The person preventing him from entering? None other than Princess Anne. The Princess Royal, known for her steadfast dedication to royal protocol, took a decisive step forward and appeared to prevent Tom from passing through the gates. This act was more than just a simple matter of procedure. For a family that has long prided itself on unity and public displays of togetherness, this incident caused a stir. It seemed like a deliberate action, sending a clear message that something more significant lay behind this decision. Why would Princess Anne, typically one of the more reserved members of the royal family, take such a bold step? What could have prompted her to physically block Tom from entering, especially at an event that was intended to showcase the royal family's charitable efforts? At first glance, this act seemed to transcend the typical boundaries of royal protocol. It felt more personal, and it didn't take long for the media to start speculating on the motives behind it. Some saw it as a statement of royal power, a moment where Princess Anne made her position clear. But why take such a drastic step? Why choose this event to make such a statement? It felt as if this incident wasn't just about one man's attendance at a charity gathering. It seemed like a carefully executed move, an action intended to show that there were limits to who could belong, who could cross certain lines, and perhaps, who could remain within the royal fold. This moment, as dramatic as it was also a powerful symbol of the fractured dynamics that have become increasingly apparent within the royal family. Let us tell you a secret, the issue here is not just Tom Parker Bowles being kept away from an event. This is a story of relationships, history, and power that exist within the royal family. Princess Anne's actions seemed to be more than just a chance decision. They appeared to signal something deeper, something tied to the complex and often fraught relationships within the family, particularly regarding Tom's place within it. What role does history play here? Could old wounds be influencing Princess Anne's actions even now? The struggle of an outsider, when the doors to the castle slammed shut on Tom Parker Bowles, it was a moment that fortified his entire life's narrative as a royal outsider. But before we peel back the layers of the significance of that dramatic scene, let's take a step back and explore who Tom really is outside of the royal glare. To understand the tension between Princess Anne and Tom Parker Bowles, we must first turn the clock back to a time long before Windsor. Castle's gates were shut on him. The seeds of animosity may not lie in Tom's media persona or his role as Camilla's son but rather in a complex and storied past, one that ties Princess Anne to Tom's father, Andrew Parker Bowles. Let's rewind to the 1970s when Andrew Parker Bowles and Princess Anne's paths crossed in a way that might surprise many. Before Anne married Captain Mark Phillips and before Camilla became entwined with Charles, Anne and Andrew shared a romantic history. Yes, the very same Andrew Parker Bowles, the man who would later marry Camilla and father Tom and his sister Laura. Princess Anne and Andrew were once a couple, a relationship that at the time held much promise but one that ultimately didn't last. Whatever the reasons were, their love story ended, and Anne would go on to marry Mark Phillips. However, this relationship, with its shared history and unresolved emotional undercurrents, may have laid the groundwork for the complicated dynamics we're seeing today. Now, let's bring that history into the present. The question arises, could Princess Anne's recent actions, particularly blocking Tom from attending a royal event, be an act of personal revenge tied to the past? After all, blocking someone from a high-profile charity event isn't a small gesture. It's a powerful statement, one that clearly communicates a sense of control and authority. For Tom, an outsider in the royal world, it could very well have felt like a public rejection. But for Anne, could this move have been driven by something more personal than royal protocol? It's not hard to imagine that some bitterness might still exist between Anne and Andrew. Their relationship, though brief, could have left behind scars that to this day may shape how one perceives Camilla and her children. The royal family's long-standing tradition of duty over personal feelings has always been at the forefront of their public image. But behind those polished smiles and well-rehearsed appearances, family dynamics are much more complex. Could Anne's decision to block Tom at Windsor Castle have been a moment of subtle retaliation? A silent way of reclaiming control over a situation that dates back decades? It's easy to dismiss Anne's actions as merely a matter of royal duty, an effort to maintain protocol in the face of a complex family structure. After all, royal events are rarely simple gatherings. They are strategic affairs, full of carefully considered moves. But let's not forget that Anne's strong-willed nature and her deeply rooted sense of tradition and honor often set her apart from other royals. She's never been one to shy away from difficult decisions. And while she's always been a loyal servant of the crown, could there have been an element of personal animosity at play here as well? The mystery does not seem to solve easily. The more we look into this tangled web of relationships, we can't help but wonder, did Princess Anne, in her own way, send a message to Camilla's son? A message rooted not just in royal duty, but in a much deeper and personal history? Is Princess Anne the only one who treats him as an outsider, or do other members of the royal family share the same sentiment? Prince William's hidden dislike. This is not the first time a royal family member has shown such disregard toward Camilla and her children. Anne's actions seem to be part of a much larger trend within the royal family, a general discomfort with Tom's presence at royal events. But what exactly lies behind this royal reluctance to fully embrace Camilla's son? For starters, it's clear that Tom's relationship with the royal family is complicated, particularly with his stepbrother, Prince William. The friction between the two has grown over the years, but it hit a new peak in 2024 following Tom's comments about King Charles's health and Queen Camilla's role in supporting him. In an interview that made waves across the media, Tom openly discussed his thoughts on King Charles, the monarchy's future, and Camilla's position within the family. His words sparked immediate backlash from certain corners of the royal household. Prince William, who has always been fiercely protective of his family's privacy and image, reportedly took issue with Tom's open remarks. But why would such comments be a problem? To understand the gravity, consider this: the royal family's image is everything. It's a carefully managed, tightly controlled narrative that spans generations. When someone from within the family, especially one so closely tied to Camilla, breaks rank and offers a candid opinion on sensitive matters like the king's health or the queen's role, it can feel like an unexpected betrayal, a public airing of private family matters. Prince William, already under pressure as the future king, is known to be particularly sensitive about anything that might disrupt the royal family's united front. Reports suggest that this friction escalated to the point where Prince William even considered skipping the royal Christmas event in December if Tom was invited. Yes, you heard that right. A potential royal Christmas without Prince William and his family would send a resounding message, signaling just how deep the rift between the two had become. Prince William's decision not to attend Christmas would have been more than just about Tom Parker Bowles. It would have been a statement about family loyalty, public image, and the royal way of doing things. But Prince William is not alone in his reported unease. Other royal members, though less vocal, have also been said to harbor reservations about Tom's presence at royal functions. The label of outsider has followed him for years, and it's become increasingly difficult to ignore, especially as the royal family moves toward a new generation of leadership. Royal events are never just about family. They are opportunities to project an image of unity and stability to the public. For some members of the royal family, Tom's more media-centric lifestyle, his career as a food critic, his frequent appearances in the tabloids, and his blunt opinions on the monarchy, presents a stark contrast to the carefully constructed image the royals are known for. To many, Tom represents the very thing the royal family has worked so hard to avoid: disruption. His media presence, which often feels far removed from the dignified silence that defines royal life, may be seen as a challenge to the monarchy's long-standing image control. While Tom might not see it this way, his lifestyle is anything but traditional, and that's likely at odds with the royal family's carefully managed public persona. But it's not just about Tom's job or his media presence. At a deeper level, there's an undeniable tension between the family members who have lived their entire lives within the monarchy and those who come from the outside, even if they share blood. Tom's outsider status, the fact that he isn't a true royal in the eyes of some, is a constant point of contention. This discomfort, however, doesn't just stay behind palace walls. The world has witnessed these subtle fractures occasionally, and the media has been more than willing to report on every detail. Camilla's struggle as queen. Queen Camilla is no stranger to living in the balance between two worlds. As the wife of King Charles III, she has stepped into her royal duties with poise and dignity. Yet, underneath that crown, she's still a mother, one who carries the weight of trying to juggle her responsibilities as a monarch with the needs of her children, particularly Tom Parker Bowles. As queen, Camilla is expected to uphold the dignity and unity of the monarchy. It's a responsibility she takes seriously. Yet, the pressures of being the consort to the king cannot be overstated. She is not just a wife to King Charles, she is a public figure representing the crown, tasked with maintaining the royal image while also supporting her children, who have long felt like outsiders within the royal family. For Camilla, every royal gathering, every public appearance, and every family conflict brings the pressure of knowing that her children may always feel like they don't fully belong. The legacy of Charles's previous marriage to Diana has cast a long shadow over their integration into royal circles. In moments like the one at Windsor Castle, Camilla finds herself in a no-win situation. She cannot afford to alienate her children, but she also cannot risk jeopardizing the public image of the monarchy. Ultimately, what happened at Windsor Castle was not just about a royal snub or being labeled an outsider. It's a glimpse into something far more personal, a hidden past that princess Anne has carried in silence for years. A past that has shaped every move and every decision. So, what's your take on it? Is there more to this family rift than meets the eye? Drop your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe. We've only scratched the surface of this royal mystery.